Hello everyone, welcome to Lever Guns 50. By popular request, you guys wanted to see black powder handguns. And so we're going to do some black powder handguns, and we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be comparing the recommended load and what everybody uses in these nowadays with what a cowboy probably would have used, and we're going to see why they would have used that particular load. Now, as you all know, these are black powder handguns. You got to use black powder or black powder replacement powder in them. And the loads are generally quite wussified. Now, why would the cowboys use a hotter load? I mean, why would they use a Colt Walker versus an 1860 or an 1851 or a pocket pistol? And one of the reasons is, and we can look it up in history, that cowboys sometimes had to kill the horse that they were riding, and sometimes it's because the horse bucked them off. Maybe their foot was caught in a stirrup and the horse was hightailing it out of there, and they was bouncing across the prairie. Their head was bouncing off of rocks and stuff, and it was either kill the horse or they was going to die. Now, Teddy Roosevelt wrote about that, and he said it was really hard to hit the horse that was dragging him, even though he was just, right there. Because when you're being dragged across the prairie and maybe across cactus and rocks and stuff, it might be hard to shoot your horse. Other reason you might shoot your horse is maybe your horse bucked you off, maybe you landed on the ground and you're safe, but your horse is taking off and it's got your pack animals attached to it, and it's going, and your pack animals is going with it, and you're going to be out there and you're not going to have any supplies. So you might shoot your horse to save all your gear. So there are reasons the cowboys shot their horses. Elmer Key talked about, I believe he shot 2 horses that he was riding because of similar things. Now, a lot of times back in those days, cowboys rode barely broke, fairly wild horses. And even the cavalry wore barely broke, fairly wild horses. There's a letter that a guy wrote back to his fiance, or it might have been his wife, but he was writing about a time that they, in the cavalry, come up on a bunch of Indians. The Indians stood up on their horses, waved their blankets over their head, and all the cavalry horses took off. And a lot of the cavalry guys lost their horses, and when they got up, the Indians just laughed at them and rode off, because Indians rode well broke horses, but cavalry generally rode mostly wild horses because they were cheaper. And if you know anything about our government back in those days, whatever was cheaper is what they went with. That's why they went with a trap door instead of a lever action or something else, because it costs $2 and the other costs $40. But anyhow, getting back to the revolvers. Often a cowboy was presented with bandits, maybe marauding Indians or whatever, and they needed to kill whatever it was, and they wasn't worrying about punching paper. So they might have loaded the gun to the max. Probably did. I mean, you might run across mama bear and some cubs, and they come charging after you, and you've got to defend yourself or die. You know, a lot of it was life and death. They wasn't worried so much about overcharging the gun to the point that it was stressing it out. They was worried about being eaten. And if you look at how they use their guns, they didn't necessarily take as good care of them as we do today. I mean, a lot of them gunfighters might have, but a cowboy, this was a tool, like an axe, and he needed it to help him survive. So we're going to try we're going to call them city slicker loads versus cowboy loads, and see what happens. Now, I in no way recommend going over the factory loading. That could be dangerous, and never try that at home. So let's load these up, and we're going to shoot them first of all into some hardwood. First of all, we're going to shoot them into some hardwood boards, and then we're probably going to try some ballistic gelatin after that. So first up is going to be 20 grains of powder out of this Colt Walker. The second load will be 40 grains, and the last load will be a maximum charge of 60 grains. And we're going to see how many of those boards that the Colt Walker will send that bullet through. In each case, we're using a round ball. and we'll get into some bullets maybe later. 1860, 40 grains versus, no, this is 20 grains versus these boards. Very little recoil. I don't see any sign on that second board. Let's go look at it. That's probably the bullet right there because it's still warm. So, same thing, come in here, probably about that deep because it looks like it pushed it up and stopped about right there. And split the board. I mean, if you look in there, that bullet can't go but a little ways in there. So one board, no damage to the second board. Let's try the 40 grain load. A lot more recoil. Let's check it out and see what it did. Stopped in the board. That pretty solid board. Let's shoot another one into it. All right, in that board, we're going to shoot another one with only 20 grains of powder just to see, because that board seems pretty hard. Just to see what that 20 grainer will do. Split the board. And the bullet's right here, and it's warm. Okay. Now we got another one that's loaded to 40 grains. We're going to shoot the board again with it. Let me collect that bullet. Okay. Well, that one did come all the way through and dent that second board. So, the bullet's really flat. I think we might have shot through the same hole. Or close to it. No, we shot close to it, not through it. I wonder where the other bullet went. Oh, there's the bullet. It's in there still. There, we got it. Bullets smash up pretty good in this fairly hard wood. This is 40 grains. I'm going to shoot a little bit lower because I don't want to hit where that wood hit. Okay, it didn't split the wood. Had a little bit more recoil, but not much. Let's check it out. Okay, perfectly round hole coming through right here. It come all the way through and it hit that, and here's the bullet. The bullet's quite hot. Look at that, it's all deformed. It's wedge shaped. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, the bullet come all the way through and it hit right here, just like that. It is wedge shaped. And hopefully, so it went all the way through one completely and dented the other board. So that's still not very awesome. We are going to shoot the next one up here to try to avoid that spot. I'm going to keep this bullet in my pocket That is the 40 grain load. All right, this is the 60 grain load. Aim up a little bit higher right there. Significantly more power, and you can see it split the board behind it. So as you can see, the bullet is right here. So basically, we got one complete board of penetration, and then that's gone over about halfway through, so 1.5 boards. So the 60 grain, I believe, if you look at this, I believe this one only went about halfway through this first board. I mean, we can't tell because it split the board, but it only pushed a piece of wood into the second board. This one here, which was a little bit hotter, 50 grains, it come through and hit that board and put a dent in it with the bullet itself. 60 grains come all the way through and penetrated into the second board. Now if you look at this bullet, it's all mangled up. This is looks like red oak. It's pretty tough, so the bullets ain't going through much. All right, we're shooting these water jugs, and we're going to shoot them with a high velocity load. In other words, we're going to shoot it with the 20 grains versus the 60 grains out of the Colt Walker. That should show the most difference, and we'll get to see which one has the biggest impact. All right, we're not getting way back. We're just going to blow it away. This first one is 20 grains. I would imagine it will go all the way through those jugs. I could be wrong though. I've been wrong before. I've been wrong. One time I thought I was wrong and I was really right. So that was one time I was wrong. All right, so as you see, it's got a hole in, hole out, right there, hole in, hole out, hole in, hole out, dent in here, and the ball's still in this jug. So let's set that jug over there and shoot it with the Colt Walker with a real load. Now I would imagine the real load's not going to dent that board as bad because it should expand more in the first 2 jugs. We'll find out, won't we? Put that there. All right, 60 grain load. Let's see what this bad boy does. Hope it does a little bit more. I think you can see the water is emptying out somewhat quicker. And the bullet probably exited out the side. Yep, come out the side. But as you've seen, it was much more violent. That would have damaged the game animal much more than that wimpy load that we shot first. Just for grins and giggles, I want to see how much this will blow up the jug with 40 grains of powder. Just shooting one jug. Should have a round ball in there from the first shot. That's from the Colt Walker, the first shot. You can see it's not damaged much at all. That second one, it looked like it might have entered that board. I wouldn't think it would have had much power. Yeah, it's in there. You can see the base of it. You can see the lid right there. So it went all the way through that jug and entered this board. It went just underneath the, you know, just a little bit more than flush. That's pretty good for a 40 grainer, and this right here, a 20 grainer, went through 2 jugs, stopped in the 3rd jug after denting that board, but it doesn't have any expansion on it. And we're going to use the 1860 first with the little wimpy load first, and then the hotter load. Okay, 1860 up first. That was doing 701 feet a second. Now we're going to try the little bit hotter load. ...998 feet a second. It's a little bit different than velocity. Let's see what it did. So, there's the 700 feet a second one. There's the 900 feet a second one. Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the 700 feet a second bullet. And this is the 900 feet a second bullet. If you look at the damage right here, you can see that the 900 feet a second bullet did a little bit more damage, quite a bit actually, than the 700 feet a second. So now let's shoot the Colt Walker and see what it's doing. Okay, Colt Walker. Hopefully, I'm thinking that this first one's going to be about the same speed as that other one. So I'm going to aim up toward the top with that first one. Hopefully I won't shoot over it. I think it went over it, but it's 742 feet a second. It did manage to come out the top here and hit this board, but it's going to have done about the same as that one. Now let's shoot the high velocity load and see what it does, and see how fast it's going. Make sure I aim down some. Had a cap underneath the hammer. Let's get it back around there. Get that piece out from under the hammer. This thing about firing them wussified loads, they let the caps fall down in there too much. Okay, hot load. And then that would be the Colt Walker, the 1177 feet a second. Look at these bullets. So that first 701 feet a second bullet, it went right at 18 inch. It actually went 19 inches and bounced back 1 inch. The Colt Walker bullet went 22 and a half inches and bounced back about a half inch. The other 40 grainer down there, it went, looks like 23 inches and bounced back a little over an inch, because it's right now it's sitting at 21 3/4 inches. So that's kind of what they did. Let's see what the wound channel is on them. So if you go on this, its wound channel, looks like it's about a 1/2 inch wide. The Colt Walker wound channel is almost an inch. Well, it's right at an inch wide. So, and this other Colt Walker one that went in, it's about 3/4 inches wide. So the 1860, the first one, has like the narrowest wound channel, which is that really slow one that was only on 700 feet a second. But as you can see, they have plenty of penetration as long as they don't hit any hard bones like hard as them boards. But anyhow, that's what I come up with. What do you guys think? Do you think you should go with the lower velocity, the 20 grain load? Do you think the Cowboys would have went with the 20 grain load? Or do you think they would have loaded it to the max? The top one is the 40 grain load behind the 1860, but you can see it doesn't really have any deformation. However, the Colt Walker, it does have a little deformation, so it obviously would have done more damage. So let me know what you guys think about shooting these two guns and the Cowboy loads and versus the City Slicker loads, and let me know what you think the Cowboys would have used, because the stuff I've read, it sounds like they more likely loaded them to the max. And even the early frontiersmen loaded their guns pretty hot. Not necessarily to the max, I'm not sure. But I think since this is the gun that you would have when you got bucked off the horse, you might want to make sure that it was going to do the job. So anyhow, I'd like to know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below and let's talk about this. Thank you for watching. God bless each and every one of you. Come back and see me, you hear?